Hello, my friends. Hello, everybody. Thank you all so much for being here. This feels very awkward because I've not done a stream in forever, and I've taken quite a partially planned hiatus from the channel, but turned into a much larger hiatus than I had previously intended for reasons, obviously. So this is a very unfortunate way to greet you all here for the first time in the new year. But I missed you guys a lot, and I hope you're all doing so well. Apologies if I don't know what vibe to, project here necessarily, because I have missed you all so much. And I'm so excited to just see you all here. Those of you who are here, hello, how are you guys? Shout out to the early gang. Sean, who is holding down the fort up in here, thank you so much. And of course, goes without saying, but huge shout out, thank you so much to those of you who've already contributed and donated, as you can see. And I put everything in the description, of course, but this stream is just the slightest effort I can possibly make, the bare minimum that I could do with the platform that I have here to try to raise as much awareness as I possibly can. And I don't think that's necessary, though. I think everyone, if you're living in the United States or even abroad, this has been plastered all over the news. So rather to just raise support and whatever relief we can towards the Los Angeles wildfires, which, can you tell I haven't streamed in forever? I can't talk. I cannot speak. Team Money, thank you so much for your donation. I appreciate it, and thank you for being here. Let me just go through real quick, and if it's still in the archives of the chat, it is. Joshua, thank you so much. Charlie, thank you so much. Matthew Tarpley, thank you, thank you. Mike Hill, and now Team Money, thank you all so much. And I know I disclaimed this in my pinned message here, but there is never any obligation. I hope those of you who have been around here on this channel for a hot minute would know by now that I never ever would want anyone to feel pressured or obligated, or God forbid feel the slightest bit upset or feel badly if they couldn't contribute monetarily. I know that's a lot to ask, especially coming off of the holiday season, in which, I don't know about you all, but my wallet has run dry. It is quite rough. So I know it's a big ask, especially following this time of year, post holidays and whatnot. So of course I never want this to feel like some sort of peer pressure situation or anything like that, just by being here. Thank you so much. That alone means a lot. If you even just clicked on this stream, Charlie, thank you so much. Again, I'm pretty sure, did we already just like hit our goal? I didn't want to set too hefty of a goal again, because I know I don't want anyone to feel pressured or obligated to try to match this exorbitant amount to contribute. But I know that every dollar counts, so thank you so much to those of you who already have. And I know I put in my community posts, but I would never ever ask you guys to contribute to something that I myself wouldn't. And this cause especially, I, as many of you know, I had some sort of docket for the stream, so I'm going to try to get into it. We're not going to go very long today, and I am going to minimize my typical stream behavior, in which I usually end up going on some rants or tangents or end up rambling about something completely unrelated to what we are discussing. But as I had said, I had videos that I had ready to post, some that I had pre-recorded and edited, ready to go for the new year, and it didn't even feel right to necessarily upload those right now, because it just feels, especially being here in Los Angeles, it kind of is a little bit unfathomable. And so I just wanted to share a little bit of not what it's been like here, because I'm sure if you've been watching any bit of the news or scrolled for even 2 seconds on X or Twitter or Instagram, wherever you might be, whatever social media platform might be your preferred one, it's impossible to not see the images that are coming out of Los Angeles right now. And many of you guys know I moved here. It's been about 4 years that we've been living here. And oddly enough, ironically, when we first moved to LA, there were active, ongoing wildfires that were much further north of Los Angeles, but the smoke was billowing down towards us, and it truly felt like flying into, I really was like, what am I doing here? We moved here in September of 2020, and there was an ongoing fire on top of everything else in that shiz storm of a year. And on my flight there, literally about to move into my new home in Los Angeles, the pilots had to come on the loudspeaker and warn us all that we would smell, it might smell like a bonfire, and it did. And that's kind of been the exact same situation again this week, T minus 4 years later, but to a much worse scale, of course. Eric, thank you so much. Are you? Yes, I am. I should disclaim. Yes, sorry. Also, I wanted to thank you, Eric, for reminding me. I wanted to disclaim and apologize for the fact that it took me forever to post any sort of just quick. It takes 2 freaking seconds to come on community posts and say I'm fine, guys. Thank you. I failed to do that in a timely fashion, so I apologize for any of you who I caused concern with my radio silence, but admittedly I was just trying to be offline a little bit because I, again, am just operating in a state of disbelief. But we are safe, thankfully. Our home is not in, we are in the concrete jungle part of the city. This is a bit what I wanted to talk a bit more about, the layout of Los Angeles. I imagine if you're watching on the news, it really probably does look like the whole city is on fire. But the thing about LA is this is massive. It is an insanely large area. Frankly, I'm shocked that they get away with calling all of this LA County because it expands out into so many different pockets, and you drive 30 minutes in this city and you feel like you're in a different state because Los Angeles is just a conglomerate of all of these different parts of town: Beverly Hills, WeHo, Hollywood, Santa Monica, Venice, Pacific Palisades, North Hollywood, all these different pockets. Sherman Oaks, Studio City, El Segundo, Manhattan Beach, all of these different pockets of town. So the city is extremely large. So we are thankful to be not in the direct line of fire of any of the ongoing blazes, but we were in closer proximity than I ever thought we would be, to the point that we could see the mountains like smoldering, flaming. Truly, it looked like Mount Doom outside of our window. And I want to claim, of course, now that this stream is not about seeking any pity for myself. I want to direct all the attention to the first responders who are going to benefit from the fundraiser that I linked here, donating to the Los Angeles Fire Department Foundation. I think so much of the coverage of this tragedy has distracted from the unfortunate tragedy at hand, which is people have lost their lives and their homes, and there are first responders working around the clock, risking their lives in these god-awful conditions up against an impossible blaze right now. And I feel like so much of the media attention has detracted from that. So I just wanted to disclaim that we are safe. That was the extent of our circumstances, that we could see it out of our window. Really truly looking like an inferno in the mountains, for lack of a better word, before the kind of smoke cloud, concealed the flames that we could see from our place. And of course, with the, resulting air quality and smokiness, again, that kind of like bonfire smell that I described earlier, that was the extent of our impact. But for those in Los Angeles, because I know I do have a lot of you guys subscribers who are fellow Los Angeles residents. Jack, thank you so much for being here. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for the hearts. Where the frick was I going with this? Oh, still be cautious. I would urge you to check your window insulation. Unfortunately, for Tom and myself, our windows are very, very poorly insulated, so check your windowsills. We did have some ash and debris, coming into our windows, wiped down surfaces. There was a small layer of, pollution / ash, I guess for a better word, particulate that had accumulated on our dining table. Wipe things down, especially if you're going to be eating off of them. This is all, of course, not to fearmonger, but if you are remotely in the line of, near these ongoing fires right now, or the smoke clouds and whatnot, if you're in the path, take precautions still. And of course, they just issued even more severe fire or red flag warnings for this week, the fire department, because the winds are going to be picking up. I would advise wearing a mask if you go outside, because yes, the air quality is being reported as shockingly low and moderate. Dare I say, no worse than usual in LA, the usual layer of smog and pollution, but I would still advise. I personally am wearing a mask. Do whatever you want. I'm not here to tell anyone what to do. But air quality index, as far as I know, does not account for heavier metals such as um, lead, cadmium, mercury, a lot of this carcinogenic stuff that is in the air right now. So do take care of yourself. But that is the extent of the impact that Tom and I have faced. So we are perfectly okay. We are completely fine, beyond just the tragedy that is just hanging in the air in the city right now. But we are grateful to be unharmed, unscathed. Our home is nowhere near part of. We would not be in the direct line of fire. Let's put it that way. It would be impossible for any of it to get to us because there's too much concrete around us. We were able to secure some air purifiers. Thank you for asking, Eric. So if you hear some of that in the background, that's what I'm blasting right now, which frankly, I feel a little bit stupid that I never had an air purifier previously here in Los Angeles, because fires or not, it is poor air quality here all the time. Anonymous, thank you so very much for your donation. I really appreciate it, and I respect your wish to maintain your anonymity, but thank you so much. That means a lot. So yes, I just wanted to clarify again and apologize again personally that I, went a few days and didn't disclaim that we were safe and that we were okay, because unfortunately for so many people that has not been the case, and it has just been utterly tragic to see what's going on. But all of this is to summarize my earlier point, which is the city is extremely, as I'm sure you've seen, the city is huge. Our population is like pushing 4 million. So yes, on the news, it really does look, it is as catastrophic though, as it looks. And this unfortunately has been a historic fire in Los Angeles. And so that was just the point of what I wanted to do today, because if I'm being honest, I felt a little bit just helpless. It's really hard to grasp. And I know Los Angeles, the stereotype is, oh, it's Hollywood, it's, celebrity town. And I feel safe to admit that that's the stereotype, because that is previously the headspace that I had when I thought about California, when I previously lived on the East Coast before I moved here. I firmly believed that California, top to bottom, was all Hollywood, that the whole thing was like essentially LA. I was young and stupid at the time, just to disclaim. I know that in hindsight is the dumbest thing to admit, but I really had this preconceived notion that all of California was like Los Angeles. And when moving out here, I really thought, like, living in LA specifically, I thought the place was going to be dripping with celebrities, which are some of the main victims of the Palisades fire, especially, that's been inching towards Brentwood. These are pretty predominantly wealthier areas of town, and I know many celebrities have gone viral for losing their homes and whatnot, but I feel obligated to share that that's not the case for the demographic of LA. Tom and I've lived here for 4 years, and you would think that the place would be crawling with celebrities, but we've seen combined less than 10 in the 4-year span of living here. The city is really, it's way less celebrity dominated than you would think. There's way more normal, quote unquote people here, middle class, families. It's not predominantly just Hollywood, which unfortunately I think a narrative has, taken on social media when it comes to some lack of empathy here for those who have lost their homes. But celebrity or not, it's still tragic to see what's been going on. But other than that, Tom and I are, for that tip, yes, I have a lot of reusable masks in the wings, waiting in the wings, stocked up from previous times. So thank you, but that is good to know. Yes, I will not be going outside probably all this week if I can avoid it. But we'll be wearing a mask in the event that I do have to. It looks like hell on earth on the news. It really does, and that's an unfortunately accurate way to put it, and that's the only way I could describe it when we saw the mountains near us, being engulfed in flames, being able to see that from your window. For me, the hardest thing to reconcile with is, again, the city is so large, so all of this tragedy and devastation is happening mere miles away from us, but the unaffected parts of town, we're still just operating business as usual. You know, it's strange, and I've had zero productivity or ability to focus. And so, unfortunately, my long planned return to come back to the channel and catch up on content, since I'm already on borrowed time, um, you know, that's been, of course, naturally put on pause. And again, it doesn't feel right to be making my normal content right now. So I knew that this was the least that I could possibly do. And I know that you guys here, we have an amazing community. Yes, if you have time and are able, I have been considering, because I know I do have the time and capability to go and volunteer. So that is definitely something I'm considering as well, on top of just trying to um, raise a little bit of relief here with this platform. And I know you guys are awesome in this community, but that's not to say that I would ever take advantage of you. Again, this is very zero pressure. Please do not donate above your means if you are even so inclined, and do not feel pressured in any way, shape, or form to donate at all. But again, I want to run through some of the links that I listed below in the description, because there are so many resources and charities right now, organizations, that there's a lot of different people that need help right now. I sadly have to go. It's great seeing you again. You as well, William. Thank you so very much for being here. Continue to stay safe, and love and prayer from Canada. Shout out to Canada. Y'all have been sending your firefighters here. Thank you so much, William. Daddy Josh has joined. Let's go. Thank you so much for being here. But I wanted to share, do a quick little run through, of course, of some of the organizations that I linked in the description below. So, of course, this stream is tied directly to a fundraiser that is benefiting the Los Angeles Fire Department Foundation. Of course, goes without saying, this supports their need for equipment, resources, directly supporting the literal heroes in the line of fire right now, risking their lives, working around the freaking clock, you know, to protect our wildlife, you know, but also, you know, strangers, the rest of everybody living in this city, doing what they can up against an unimaginable, you know, challenge right now. The strain on the resources and the water supply is to a scale that no infrastructure, no city, regardless, you know, Los Angeles is one of the largest metropolitan areas in the United States, but the excess that they have pushed, you know, the resources to try to tame the blaze right now. I'm not doing a great job of articulating this, but it is a near impossible task that they are up against. And so that's why I've linked, you know, this stream directly to, you know, fundraise for their, you know, this foundation, which directly, again, supports the first responders, the freaking heroes right now, many of which are incarcerated, you know, people who are, you know, serving a prison sentence and are out here. I think I read at least maybe 1,000 of the active firefighters right now who've been dispatched are incarcerated, and they make between $5 to $10 an hour, I think, maximum. So yes, just wanted to, that's where I want to redirect some of the energy. You know, I have zero, you know, influence media wise, but do what I can to try to redirect the narrative to, as Charlie and Sean were saying earlier, focusing on the now, which is that people are still very much, the first responders are sacrificing, risking their lives to help try to contain some of these, and they still have an uphill battle to go, and the winds are going to be picking up again in Los Angeles. They've issued, again, another severe red flag warning, so praying, of course, that things do not escalate to further degree than they have. But another benefiting, again, these ones will be linked in my, they already are, should be linked in my description if you want to check out some of these other foundations and charities that I've linked. And I disclaimed that some of these are vetted by NBC News, because there is so much scamming going on right now, unfortunately. That's been another, can't say I'm shocked, you know, repercussion of the tragedy that's been happening. California strong, heck yes, Jason. But of course, I'm sure as many of you guys have seen, people are trying to just exploit this situation. So all of these websites that I have linked in the description, with the exception of one, but I trust the source, have been vetted by NBC News, but we have the California Fire Foundation, which again benefits firefighters, first responders, and supports their family members. They are also making that sacrifice, the families of the first responders currently. World Central Kitchen, they, donate meals and whatnot, helping to feed the now thousands of displaced and unfortunately homeless families. And I believe Los Angeles currently still has 100,000 people who've had to evacuate and have been displaced. Don't quote me on that, but I tried to brush up a little bit on just some numbers to share for this stream just to give a scope. But yes, of course, responding to Southern California wildfires, they offer meals and whatnot, I believe, for first responders and those impacted. Wildfire Recovery Fund, this is more so, I think, just a general organization from the California Community Foundation that goes towards the rebuilding. I think long term is where a lot of their resources will go, because even after the last flame has been extinguished, there's still a severe uphill battle that we are going to have to face in the city. And so they're very community driven in their efforts here. And I think that is going to be their main focus and effort. But one that I didn't know about before I created the stream, again, this isn't one of the few that was vetted by NBC News, but I trust this source, and a friend of mine shared this on her Instagram story. That's how I found it. Widows, Orphans, and Disabled Firefighters Fund, once again supporting family members of either lost or injured and disabled first responders and whatnot. I can confirm it took 5 minutes to send a donation to this one today. And that's a cause that I really feel passionate about, supporting, again, the first responders who are just risking literally everything right now, to save total strangers, their neighbors in this city, whatnot, but they are working around the clock. They are the most exposed. Again, here we are talking about just wearing a mask and taking precautions if you live in LA or the surrounding areas and leave your house. Once again, I'm not trying to fearmonger in any way, shape, or form, but I myself questioned the air quality, and upon further research, read that air quality index does not necessarily account for some of the, heavier metals such as cadmium, mercury, other things that could be in the air right now because homes, buildings, infrastructure are burning and whatnot, and so all that particulate is going into the air. So do your own research, please. I'm not here to tell anyone what to do, but I am personally wearing a mask still when I go outside, and I'm not even exposed directly to the flames, and that's what these firefighters are literally breathing in right now. They face, of course, the worst exposure. And I believe I read that it's the incarcerated, first responders and firefighters who often suffer some of the worst, injuries or long-term exposure from just being around, that amount of smoke and whatnot. So that's why I wanted to, of course, once again, the stream is linked directly to a fundraiser for the Los Angeles Fire Department Foundation. But, of course, everything, I think the energy should be redirected back to, in the media storm that has been covering this, I think we've lost some of the plot, which is the heroes on the freaking front lines right now doing everything that they possibly can to contain this before the reamped, winds return this week. So there is still very much an uphill battle ahead. So those are just a few, just to breeze through some of the other links that I did list down below in case, you don't feel like, which literally do not care at all. If you donate, if you don't want to donate, again, I'm going to sound like a freaking broken record because I never want anyone to feel obligated monetarily, again, especially coming off of the holidays. Believe me, I know how it is. I am broke, y'all. Like, my wallet's dry come January, so I know the circumstances, and I know the economic climate in the United States right now. It's rough out here. So thank you so much, Anonymous, for your donation. Once again, I respect your generosity and your wish to remain anonymous. So thank you so much. That means a lot. I've seen that a ton have evacuated people in downtown Long Beach. The hotels are all packed. Yes, I'm genuinely very curious to see again, like, even after they contain these ongoing, the active flames, there's still so much after all the fires have been extinguished that we are going to have to do to recuperate as a city from this, just starting with, the people who've been displaced, the sheer amount of homes and just cultural history, of course, that's been lost, but that does not come anywhere near close to, of course, the weight of the loss of life, the loss of people's homes, people losing everything right now. There's so much rebuilding that is going to still come from this. Thank you, Anonymous. Yes. Yes, Sean. Thank you, Anonymous. Much appreciated. So yes, that's why I just wanted to try to do something, because I'm not a Los Angeles native. You guys know I'm from the East Coast, but I have grown to really love this city. As much as I can roast it at times for the traffic, the overpopulation, there's quite a lot. The fact that it takes you an hour plus just to drive 8 miles in this town, the traffic. There's, this tragedy has made me realize how much I really take living in a place like this for granted. And I do believe that there's a reason that Los Angeles is overpopulated. I would venture to say that it is, because it's an amazing place to live. The stereotypes of some stereotypes, yes, I think are true when it comes to what life is like in LA, but I think this has made me realize how much I took that for granted, because this is such a special place. And that is the shame of all of this, is that there are so many, the population of Los Angeles, again, I think in 2024 was pushing 4 million people. So the people just affected on this scale right now by these ongoing fires is already catastrophic. And so this has made me realize how much I actually really do care about, this city, even though I'm not a native here. But frankly, 99% of the people that I have met here and befriended are transplants. So many people that you meet here are not Los Angeles locals, but I think there's a reason so many people migrate out here and end up staying. And so it's just been really heartbreaking to see what has been happening throughout the city, the still ongoing suffering, which is why my reactions will probably be put on hold for at least maybe a few days. I know I'm already quite behind, and I wanted to hit the ground running this year when the clock struck 2025, but right now my productivity is not fabulous for obvious reasons. Sean raised a good point. Did I see any of the fires when I traveled in? Yes. So I was originally supposed to travel back to Los Angeles on Monday, July, sweet Lord. Monday, January 6th, but there were some snowstorms back on the East Coast, and I was flexible and wasn't exactly in a rush to get back anyway. So I postponed my travel to Wednesday. I think that was the 8th, and flying in that Wednesday, which is really when a lot of these started to, that evening is when the Sunset Fire in Runyon Canyon area in the Hollywood Hills region started to ramp up. And I could see, yes, coming in from the plane, it was a bit of a bumpy landing, of course, because of the winds and whatnot, but it was definitely alarming when we got into LA and you couldn't necessarily even see anything in the sky until we broke through, the layer of clouds on our descent. But it was very reminiscent of the first time I ever flew out here to move here and relocate here, when there were ongoing fires back then 4 years ago. So it was certainly surreal. And things unfortunately only escalated really after Wednesday. So the images of the aerial view of the grid over the fire, that's one thing I think, the images are accurately portraying how severe the vast stretch of land, that this has impacted in comparison. That's why I'm not here to dispel misinformation or debunk any of that's been going on, unfortunately, that has just completely polluted the media coverage of this. But that is why, the scale, I think people can't comprehend, that the fire department's resources just did not, no, no city, no fire department, regardless of preparations or equipment and resources. It's just the sheer scale that has caused such a strain that no no department would be equipped to handle. No city could handle something like this. Um yeah, tornado fire, like fire tornado, it's been insane. Um so it's definitely just very very surreal out here. So that's why I was like, I don't want to, I feel sad returning to the channel in this nature, with this being the topic at hand. But I wanted to just do something. So apologies again for this being the subject matter of our return to the channel in 2025. But one thing I also did want to just share, because I know for myself personally, I look around and literally see the city burning around me and I think, oh God. I don't know if I've really ever divulged this to you guys, but I'm a bit, I'm feeling existential, and I often get very down when it comes to thinking about our future as a globe. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm a pessimist, but I do believe in climate change, very much so. And especially looking around at something like this disaster, which has, of course, been exacerbated by the fact that Los Angeles is parched. Yeah, I didn't realize this until I read, the stats about it, but I guess we allegedly haven't had significant rainfall in 8 months. We're entering what is supposed to be our rainy season now, but yeah, it's been a hot minute. It doesn't rain here over the summertime, and I don't really recall it raining very much at all throughout the fall / into early winter. So, climate, I do think, has had a significant, impact on this, just in terms of the dryness that we have had. But it's especially sad because I remember earlier, it was either earlier this year or last year, I think our stats were that we had actually accumulated more rainfall than Seattle. Fact check me on that. Feel free. I should have double checked that before this stream, but there was a period of time where we were doing really well and I was living my best life, because you guys know I'm from the East Coast. I need variation. I need some weather. I need some, something to shake things up. Los Angeles is amazing, yes, for the weather. It's beautiful year round and you don't ever need to wear a parka necessarily, but sometimes I just crave something other than sunshine and blue skies. So I especially love when it rains here, like when we were getting that hurricane that was allegedly going to come and like wipe us all away. It ended up not being that severe. The highlight of that day was the earthquake that we got during the hurricane. It stole the show. But I live for the rain, especially out here. Like, I love it, and I'm always living my best life if we have a gloomy day, but it really has been a hot minute. The images also just make it look like a scene from Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon. Yes, Emery's, and admittedly, that was going to be the video that I had pre-recorded and edited, ready to post, my Fire and Blood book review, but it didn't feel appropriate, especially uploading a video about Fire and Blood when that's literally what is freaking happening in Los Angeles right now. Alex, thank you for sharing. Via a news report in April 2024, Los Angeles has seen 15.77 inches of rainfall since the year began. Seattle has only seen around... Yes! Okay, thank you! You did fact check me. Thank you. Yes, I remember reading online that we actually had a little bit more rain than Seattle at one point. And so that causes, foliage, shrubbery. We often, if we go on hikes, we go to, like, Runyon Canyon. We go hike near Griffith Park, Griffith Observatory, the Hollywood sign. That's our chosen destination for hikes and whatnot in the mountains here. And it really went from being super dry, just straight up dirt everywhere, to like this lush foliage. It was amazing. There was so much green on our typical hiking path that was usually just very dusty and just dirt, just straight up nothing. And so unfortunately though, what happens is then that is tinder. That is something that, the fires can latch on to. And so this is all, I'm trying to not tangent here. This is all to say that I personally believe that global warming is a thing, and I often sometimes feel helpless in my own individual efforts and measures that I try to take in my day-to-day life, to try to just make any sort of impact that I can as one single person, when unfortunately I know the reality of the situation is so much of greenhouse gas emissions and whatnot are majorly driven by corporations that are larger than any of us. And so this is to segue into something not necessarily fun that I wanted to do, but it's, it's, if you're like me and looking for, especially since it's, new year, new us, if you're looking to make changes or adopt even one new habit in your day-to-day life that can take a step towards sustainability, if that's something that you want to prioritize or something that's important to you, again, I'm not here to, that's why I said I believe in climate change. I'm not here to try to convince you one way or the other, because I know that alone, unfortunately, is still a majorly disputed topic, at least in the United States. But this is from a college class that I took. I was trying to dodge, I had like a science credit I had to take, so I was trying to dodge any of like, physics or chemistry or anything. I don't want to say real science, because environmental science is very much real, but I'm more passionate about environmental science than I am about physics or those other ones that I perceive to be more difficult. So I tried to dodge the hard stuff by going for an environmental science course, and I ended up actually really loving it. And this has stuck with me, this quiz that our professor made us take in order to calculate your ecological footprint. How many planets would we need if everybody lived like you? And it was, I remember, extremely alarming, because you don't think about it, especially living in the United States. We live in first world circumstances where we have so much access to food, energy, water, golf courses that are consuming how much freaking gallons of water, per day and whatnot. It's kind of just part of our day-to-day life, but we don't think about it, especially living in a city like Los Angeles. Everybody here drives a car. That's why there's so much freaking traffic, but you're not sitting there thinking about what is the impact that this is having on the globe when you're sitting in Los Angeles traffic. You're just pissed off about it. So this, I remember, was an extremely just eye-opening, just a good way to get a start. I feel so freaking stupid right now because you guys, I don't care. I don't know if you guys care. But I wanted to try to spin this into, instead of being a pessimistic look at the world, the city that's literally burning outside my window right now. It's not, that's me being overdramatic. I am very far currently from any of the ongoing blazes, thankfully. But I don't know, I just wanted to introduce this, especially because it's this time of year when, if you still have yet to make a resolution, which I think I've preached this before on the channel, but I've never viewed New Year as the only blank slate that exists for us in our day-to-day life. If you want to make a change or just do anything differently, like I see every month, every week as a blank slate if you want to take a step and make a resolution of some sort. But especially in light of everything that is, the way we're kicking off the new year here, at least in the United States, in California, Los Angeles, Southern California, I just wanted to also have some accountability for myself, because it's easy for me. I posted on my Instagram story, like, oh, this is a sign of climate change, and we're going to continue seeing stuff like this, throughout the United States, and people are going to continue to be impacted. I mean, just look at the sheer number of people. Again, close to 100,000 people in Los Angeles who were under evacuation orders, or who've already had to leave their home and have no home to go back to now. I wanted to have some accountability, because it's easy for me to post on my Instagram story and be like, climate change, yes, but in case you've never heard of this before or wanted to try it out for yourself, it's not exactly fun, because it's actually quite a slap in the face of reality of what is your personal impact, your day-to-day. And admittedly, so, what is your personal overshoot day? Overshoot day, as I remember it being described when I took this class in college, was the date in the calendar year in which, Earth would no longer be able to sustain you. You wouldn't be able to function anymore because you would have used up all the resources on Earth. And so this quiz calculates how many planet Earths would it take to sustain life if every single human being on this planet lived your lifestyle, and it really puts things into perspective. Admittedly, when I first took this quiz in college, I had a pretty good score, okay? I think I only had 1.5 Earths, which at the time I was so proud of that. And so I'm doing this as a form of accountability for myself, because I've since retaken this morning, and this is gonna be, I'm not proud to share this, y'all, but this is just for inspiration for the rest of us. I've gotten worse. I'm botched. I'm fricked. I got worse. My personal Earth overshoot day is the 4th of March, so that means the rest of the year would be void. Based on my living habits, if every single person on Earth lived like me. So how did I go from 1.5 Earths to 5.7? I'm actually really disappointed in myself, but I think I know how and why this happened. But that's why I think this is important to take, because it's a reality check. You know, I've been coasting in my day-to-day life, you know, thinking that I'm making a difference in the habits that I do, you know, preach and practice. You know, at the time when I originally took this, I guess I was more full throttle vegan, plant-based. I've since, unfortunately, sabotaged that, and I do eat dairy and fish now, more so than I did back in my college days. So I'm failing in that regard, but I'm still vegetarian and always will be. I don't consume meat. I was also living at my parents' house, which I think is much more sustainable and energy efficient than my current apartment. As I just described to y'all, our windows are jack shiz. There's literally pollutant, ash, debris, particulate accumulating on our windowsills as we speak. Not very efficient in that regard. All of my appliances here are archaic as frick. So definitely not very ecologically friendly. 5.7 Earths. Dang, I know, right? Listen, this is why I'm sharing this. Because it's great if you want to check it out for yourself and just to see where you stand, because I didn't realize I was in this deep. You know, I shop secondhand. I thrift all of my clothing, which I pride myself on. I rarely, if ever, you know, shop fast fashion. Everything I buy is either from Goodwill or ThredUp, which is a secondhand website where you can, you know, purchase used clothing online. So I think, how did I go from 1.5 to 5.7 Earths? Unfortunately, I think it's the lack of eco-friendly infrastructure in my current living situation. That's a good point too, Stanley's. Yeah, process of making almond milk is a massive drain on water. It is. It is. There are definitely, and that's why I never would have called myself a full-blown vegan per se, because I think anyone who is a true vegan accepts the cold hard truth, which is that every purchase, there are just inevitable things in our day-to-day life that are taking a toll on not only the environment or animal welfare, but human health, and whatnot. So, you know, that's why, that's not to say that's the reason that I stopped being vegan. I stopped being vegan because I went to Rome and ate so much cheese and gelato and pizza, and I couldn't go back after that. I got off the wagon and I never got back on. So, for me personally, I think the reason my current score is this jack shiz right now is I fly by aircraft a lot. When I was in college, I had only ever flown twice in my lifetime, by the time I was like 20 years old. Now, because I live on the West Coast, I fly frequently to go home, 5-hour flights to, you know, go visit my family. I have family that lives in Europe, as I've told you guys. I've taken several international flights this year. Again, somebody said 100 days till Star Wars Celebration, planning one already again for, you know, April of this year. So I think that for me is something that I didn't consider would have this big of a toll, you know? So that's why I wanted to share this as just some form of, not hope per se, because this I don't feel very hopeful. I've regressed. I got to get my shiz back in order and start making some changes again to remedy this, or at least carbon offsetting my flights, which is something I always thought about doing, and I just never actually do it. So I'm holding myself accountable here to try to do that. Because, as Los Angeles is, blazed in flames right now, I'm, trying to think of ways that I can make even just the slightest adjustments in my own life to take meaningful and realistic measures towards, just being a more sustainable human being so that it wouldn't take nearly six Earths to support a global population if they all lived like me. So I think that's my biggest defense is air travel. I fly way more than I did in college, multiple times a year throughout the year. Not really proud of that. And I didn't realize the degree of the toll it took on my, carbon footprint. So this is a moment of accountability for me and to try to remedy that. Matt's Tube of You says, I and my family grew up and lived in and around LA County over the years. Between the drought, winds, and conditions, this has been the perfect storm in every horrible sense of the phrase, so to speak. You're 1,000% right. And it's been it's tragic to see what has happened and the loss of human life and people's homes, wildlife, animals that have been displaced and threatened by this. It's tragic on so many levels, and it's even more sickening, perhaps, to see the way that this has been used politically and weaponized, at least in the media in the United States, when the real thing that we should be thinking about is, again, just the loss of life and what we as a society can start doing to take measures to prevent more, climate change related tragedies like this one. Again, that is my opinion. Take up gardening, says Stanley's. I want to. Oh, sorry, Alice. I never disclaimed. This is footprintcalculator.org. But you could also just search what's my carbon footprint on Google, and it would take you to this website. So yeah, we would have T-minus less than like 2 months before the Earth would crap out if everybody lived like I did. Anonymous, thank you so much for the $20 donation. Many, many thanks. Much appreciated. And we respect your wish for anonymity, but many thanks for your generosity and for being here. So that's what I wanted to end this with. Being upfront, being vulnerable, being honest about the fact that I thought I was doing great. I thought I was taking measures to, just by virtue of being vegetarian. I never shop for new clothing. I always buy used. I personally don't drive. I walk everywhere that I go because, shockingly, Los Angeles does have some pretty good walkability depending on the area you're in. So I walk everywhere I go. I've been coasting through life thinking that I am taking more steps than most. Mainly, I guess, with eliminating meat from my diet. And by virtue, Tom's. I've gotten Tom to be quite the little... He's not a vegetarian, but, I don't cook, meals with any meat. All the meals that I cook are vegetarian. So, I've been kind of operating on this, I guess, level of complacence when it comes to my efforts towards sustainability. So this was a cold, hard slap in the face of reality for me, but I just wanted to introduce this to you guys if you've never seen or heard of it, because it really does put things into perspective. And out of all the things that I do and don't remember from my university years in college, this is something that stuck with me. And I wasn't even, this was just to satisfy a general education science course, yes, I'm passionate about the environment, but I'm not by any means an environmental scientist, but this still really resonated with me and is one of the few takeaways that I have and probably will always remember from my college studies and whatnot. So, whoops, wrong screen. There we go. So I'm bearing my soul to y'all and have some level of accountability when it comes to my own impact and what I would like to do differently to bring that down, bring that freaking number down. So, that's not necessarily a fun way to end this, but just as a little activity if you wanted to try it out for yourself. and see, you know, don't feel like you have to share your number here if you take the quiz. But I just remember it's just a very good way to, I don't know, see if there's room for improvement in your lifestyle. Again, particularly for those of us in the United States where we have access to cars or whatnot and appliances, and we do live in a world that's driven by, you know, I don't want to say capitalism. I don't want to get into that conversation, but, you know, fast fashion, shopping, replacing all of our electronics, getting the new iPhone every time a new one comes out, and we don't even think about it and the footprint that it makes. In Australia, we had no idea that LA was full of that many people with a lot of people that aren't famous. Isn't that sad? No, it's not sad, Alice. And I disclaimed this earlier in the stream that I too had that preconceived notion when I moved to Los Angeles. I thought the place was going to be crawling with celebrities, and I've seen very few in comparison with it's actually just so many regular, everyday, normal people, families, and even low income in Los Angeles, which is extremely hard to grasp because the cost of living in the city is exorbitant, but not everybody here is living it up in Beverly Hills. But that's what I believed when I first moved here, and that was like a huge culture shock for me to realize, like, the city isn't dripping with the wealth and celebrities that I always thought it was. It's not easy to be vulnerable, and sustainability is invaluable. So it's great that you're talking about it and introduce the footprint calculator site. I want to check it out. Thank you, Alex. I highly recommend it. It's just a great way to, granted, I had some qualms with I think it's a great way to just get a barometer, just get a reading of where you stand when it comes to sustainability and your lifestyle. Granted, I'm shocked it doesn't inquire about, like, if you have a pool, you know, your water usage per se. It's mainly, I guess, carbon footprint and whatnot. But it's still a great way to just get a read and see what you can control to make some just changes that could be impactful. I've not personally bought any new clothes in at least 2 years, I think. Heck yes, Matthew. Unfortunately, I think you are in the minority there, especially in today's day and age with apps such as TikTok, which days could be numbered, we'll see. But, you know, I think especially platforms like TikTok have done horrific things to promote how do I want to phrase this? The toll when it comes to promoting overconsumption is immeasurable, I think, and it's due to TikTok because of the trending Shein hauls, or can you tell I don't know fashion because I don't shop this stuff? But if you're on TikTok, I'm sure you've seen at least one buying 50,000 things at Shein because you can purchase a shirt for $1 that somebody made for a 2 cents an hour wage in a poor, god-awful working condition, you know, in a country that you're not thinking about, you know, like, unfortunately, that's the state of consumption, I think, in the United States, because largely in part due to TikTok hauls, all of that stuff, TikTok fashion trends. I think, you know, the fashion industry as a whole has only gotten worse when it comes to the ecological impact, the environmental toll of fast fashion, and the fact that we as the United States consume and buy way more clothes than we actually need because we think we need to keep up with trends, and then those clothes just get discarded, many times not donated, not sent to Goodwill, or just thrown in the trash, and then they get shipped to other countries and become a burden on them and their, you know, environment. We don't have mountains of just discarded clothing here in the United States because we ship it elsewhere. This is turning into way deeper than I thought it was going to be. And I didn't want this to turn into a preachy, like, you know, we gotta fight climate change thing. I am passionate about that, and if that is a priority for you as well, power to you. Let's get it. And so that's just why I wanted to share a little bit of I see my city burning around me. I acknowledge that this is a crisis that has been impacted by, you know, as somebody said earlier, the perfect storm that's been fed by, you know, climate change factors and whatnot. What can I be doing to, you know, take measures to remedy some of that in my day-to-day life? So I didn't mean for this to turn into a rabbit hole, um yes, I do think TikTok largely has had an impact on, like, you know, Matthew's saying, you know, haven't bought new clothes in 2 years. I think many people would think that that is taboo because we live, at least in the United States, with trend cycles and whatnot. And maybe this is more applicable with women because I think guys don't have to try too hard to dress nice, I feel like. Feel free to argue with me on that. But, you know, for women, young girls, teenage girls, Gen Z specifically, you know, trend cycles have become this huge driving force of the fast fashion industry, and people are buying these $2 shirts from Shein and then discarding them, or the microplastics go into the freaking water supply because they're all made of freaking plastic material that disintegrates when you put it into the washing machine, and then the shirt just rips 2 days later. I'm never going to be sponsored by Shein, y'all, but I never would want to be. But that's unfortunately the fact of it. And then you got to go buy a new shirt. So that's why I applaud you, Matthew. All of this is to say, unfortunately, I think you're in the minority there, but I wish that was the case with everyone. And even this, you know, quiz, the ecological footprint calculator, it asks you, how often do you buy new clothes or replace garments like underwear, socks, stuff like that? And I think people don't realize the toll that that has alone, just shopping, consumption of things you don't think about, like clothes. What would that have to do with the environment? So thank you for sharing that, Matthew, and for your honesty as well. I applaud you, and I aim to do the same. I'm about to do a big closet overhaul. All of the shelters, luckily, that I've researched. I spent all yesterday trying to research where can I donate clothing to people who've lost everything. And all the shelters are overwhelmed. They're not even asking for clothes anymore, but which is amazing. Like that, like, thank goodness that they have to say, please don't send any more donations because we don't know what to do with all of them. Like, the outpouring of support from the Los Angeles community, like, that's exactly what you would want to read if you're trying to find some place to donate, that they're all booked up. But from what I've heard, you know, they cycle through, they, you know, disperse the initial influx of donations when it comes to clothing and whatnot, and then they always, you know, there's another surge where they need more. So I'm personally going to go through, you know, my closet, and my sister-in-law actually had a really great, you know, because I'm not a hoarder per se when it comes to my closet, but I don't shop very much, and so I cling to things, I think. But I want to go through my closet, and now this is a catalyst, an incentive for me to do that, to hopefully donate it when the, you know, window of opportunity opens again for people who are going to need it in Los Angeles here. But my sister-in-law had a great, you know, what did she say? If you haven't worn it in over a year, then maybe it's time to part ways with it. And so that's something I want to embrace just personally when it comes to my, you know, limiting my overconsumption and making more conscientious choices when I buy things like clothing, especially. It's like, okay, am I going to wear this once, or am I going to wear this 5 years from now, you know? Especially being a girl, where, yeah, we frickin' buy one dress for each special event in our lives and then never rewear it. So yes, this turned into such a, sorry, I also just recently watched a documentary about this stuff, so that's why it's like ripe on my mind. But you have my support, Kat. Thank you for the live stream. Much love and support to you and Tom. Thank you, Alex. Thank you so much for being here. Sorry for that tangent, everybody. I'm gonna catch up really quickly, and probably we'll wrap this up soon because I didn't want this to digress into something completely unrelated. John Blake, thank you so much for being here. Hope you're safe. Happy you're safe. We are. Thank you. Thank you so much for the well wishes. I've heard a lot of the celebrities that reporters have talked to about their non-celebrity neighbors that live in their neighborhoods. Yes, so many of these houses, you know, that have been lost, it's a lot of normal people and families or whatnot. And yeah, it's not cheap to buy a house in Los Angeles, especially. So I can only imagine you know, the absolute tragedy for some of these people who've perhaps saved everything their entire lives, their life savings to finally spend on a house, and now they've lost it in these horrific circumstances. But yes, that is one piece of the public perception and perhaps the lack of empathy that I've seen online. Because yeah, like sure, if you hear something bad is happening in Los Angeles, I can see why some people's initial reactions might be like, oh well, it's Hollywood and everyone there is rich. And it took me having to move here to learn that that was not the case. So I understand that that is a misconception about LA especially, but it's not Hollywood in every pocket of this city, and the celebrity to regular people ratio is much smaller, I don't know, than you would think. So that's just what's been especially, you know, tragic as well, that the lack of sympathy, since many people think that everyone walking around here is just a celeb or an influencer, but that's not the case. We're here for the deep chit chat. Deep dive with Kat. Oh god, yes. I also just feel weird because I never talk about this type of stuff on the channel, but maybe I will more. Maybe I'm gonna release my inhibitions and start using my platform for something other than just reaction videos, you know, and talking about topics like this that are really important to me. Climate change is so real, says Matt's Tube of You. My friend in Ecuador says parts of the mighty Amazon, yes, are now resembling small lakes and streams, green patches showing up in the Sahara from melting polar caps. And if we lose the Amazon, y'all, let's just say that's the point of no return. Hope you are well, Kat. Thank you so much, Sir Blue Wolf. Sorry that I went on a million tangents and didn't see that comment. Sorry, it's taken me so long. I donated a boatload of clothing when I had to move last summer. Yes, that's amazing. That is awesome. And I do think one thing that has been, I will say, for every Shein haul and all of these, you know, hauls of people getting 500, you know, articles of clothing for less than $100 total on TikTok, I will say there has been a great surge of secondhand, you know, clothing or vintage and thrifted clothing, you know, attention on there that's trended thanks to TikTok as well. So here I am roasting TikTok, but who knows what the fate of it will be in the United States in T-minus like 1 week from now. We know you and your tangents, it's part of who you are. Yes, but I tried to stay more on top of things today. Joshua says, oh, thank you so much, Joshua. If you had to evacuate my wife and I would love to host you and your husband. We live in San Diego. Thank you so much, Joshua. That is incredibly generous of you. And I think thankfully it would not come to that point. Fingers crossed. I hope we will see with the resurgence of winds coming up soon. Tomorrow, it could be. We'll see what happens. Just fingers crossed for, you know, of course, all the first responders who are literally fighting around the clock right now to try to tame as much as they possibly can before these winds get revamped. But that's so incredibly kind of you. Thank you so much. And I think we will be okay. But that's extremely, extremely generous of you. I think someone might buy TikTok, says Dylan. We will see. We shall see. But that was every talking point that I kind of had and wanted to go through again for this video, or stream rather. Again, I didn't want to draw this out too long. I wanted to try to keep it concise, which is a challenge for me, as you guys know, with my rants and tangents. So, but thank you for sticking around, especially since this isn't necessarily the most entertaining or feel-good content, and I do apologize that these are the circumstances in which we are seeing each other again in the new year, especially because I really missed you guys, and it's been a hot minute since I've been on here, and I dipped off the channel, and, you know, I'm still in the midst of now a new bit of a hiatus, just because I just feel weird if I were to just come on here and be like, Skeleton Crew reaction. No shade to Skeleton Crew. I still have to watch all that, but that's why I just wanted to just do something. So for everybody, I think we probably hit our goal. Again, I didn't set it for anything exorbitant because I know it's a lot to ask, um, you know, for money in a time like this. Again, post holidays. Holy smokes, we did 240 of 200 raised. Oh my goodness. Thank you guys so much. Thank you so much. Again, that's going directly to support first responders and the firefighters who are out there risking their lives right now, working around the clock. I've said it 50 billion times, but again, I just wanted to do whatever I could to try to redirect the focus in the firestorm of the media and the misinformation that's been rampant during the coverage of all of this, that has diverged from the lives at stake and the lives of the first responders who are doing everything that they possibly can to keep the rest of us safe. Do you think you will do keep those funds links up? Will do, yes. All of the other resources that I listed, I'll go through them again one last time in case anybody here wasn't. I promise I'm just gonna fly through these. Main one that we reached our goal for: Los Angeles Fire Department Foundation supports first responders directly. California Fire Foundation supports first responders and their families, offers support for them as well. World Central Kitchen is offering meals to the many displaced people and families right now, as well as first responders, I believe. California Community Foundation, once again, all of these are linked in the description. This is going to support community efforts and just the long-term recovery that the city faces from this. And Widows, Orphans, and Disabled Firefighters Fund. Once again, I donated to this one earlier today because I really feel very passionately about that cause, and so many of the, you know, unsung heroes in all of this are the family members of, you know, the first responders who are out there risking their lives right now, again, being exposed to the worst of the smoke, and will unfortunately probably face repercussions health-wise from this for years to come, because they're inhaling the absolute worst of it right now, to degrees that we can't even imagine, and they're doing all of that to protect the rest of us. So those are the remainder of the links. And once again, if you wanted to check out footprintcalculator.org is where you can go and calculate your ecological footprint. I'm ashamed of mine and my results. Hopefully your guys's were better than mine. But it's just it's a good way to observe your lifestyle and take stock of what you can do, just even minor changes, to try to bring that number down to have a later overshoot day than March, if you're like me. So those are the links. I'll link the quiz in the description as well. I didn't do that originally, but I will link it after the fact in case you want to go and check it out. Anonymous, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your $20 donation. That's so generous of you. Let's get it. We made our goal, guys. Thank you so much. That is not something to bat an eye about. Like, truly, you guys are the best, and you always show up if we ever have, which I need to do more. I feel ashamed that this is like the first fundraiser I've done on here in quite a long time. The last one we did was for Christmas time, like 2 years ago. So what is wrong with me? That, not that I want to take advantage of this community and the fact that you guys are always showing up with your generosity and support, but we do have a great, you know, platform here. I consider this all of our platforms, like our shared community here on the channel, not just my platform and whatnot, but I felt a sense of responsibility to use it to just raise whatever relief we possibly could. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Truly, that means the world to me. Charlie is encouraging me to stop freaking overcompensating and, you know, apologizing and whatnot. So I'm gonna do that and just say once more, thank you from the bottom of my heart. And even if you were unable to donate monetarily, please do not feel pressured or upset about that in any way, shape, or form. Even if you just joined us here for the stream today, that alone means the world to me and is showing more support than you even know. To those of you who reached out to inquire if Tom and I were okay, I can't even tell you how much that means to us. We appreciate you and the fact that people care about us. Not to sound like narcissistic about it, but the fact that you guys even took the time to send emails or reach out and whatnot that means the world to me, that you guys are just so kind and caring. So thank you for all the forms of support and generosity that you've shown us, and today just by being here. And to those of you who had donated, everyone named and anonymous, shout out to all of you so much. I don't really have any other way to wrap this up other than just thank you so much for being here. Have fun taking the ecological footprint quiz. If you do take it, feel free to comment on this video what your score was, if you're willing to share. But I did it as a little just sense of accountability to move forward more conscientious in my own life when it comes to my decision making, my lifestyle habits, and what I can do to just be better and more sustainable. So thank you all so much. Adios. Stay safe. Thank you so much, Taco. And this, of course, goes without saying, but if you are in Los Angeles, if you or a loved one lives here, I truly hope that you are safe and healthy. Please use caution again. Oh, Caver, thank you so much. Thank you so very much. Last second buzzer beater. That is so kind of you. Thank you very much for your generosity and for being here. Oh, sorry. Yes, I was going to answer this question about dork discourse. I'm not sure. I don't think now feels like the right time necessarily to stream. I still have to watch like 5 episodes of Skeleton Crew. So frankly, I don't even really know what we would talk about. I'll rendezvous with Tom and see what he thinks. I'm sorry, I'm a broke college student. That's why I'm on a budget. Stop. Do not be sorry. Freaking take that back. Rescind your apology, because it is totally not necessary. You already are being so generous. Please don't be sorry. That's already so kind of you. And I can relate to those broke college student days. We're all broke right now. It's post-holidays. So I know that now is not necessarily the most opportune time to be hosting a little fundraiser live stream, but for everybody who did contribute, thank you so much. It's extremely generous of you. So to be determined if we're going to get back to our regularly scheduled Dork Discourse content starting tomorrow. Don't hate me if we don't do it, because it's I don't know. For me, in my soul, it doesn't necessarily feel right, but who knows? Tom might be down for it. So we will see. And I promise I will be back with regularly scheduled content soon. For the time being, I just didn't want to come on here and spam Skeleton Crew reactions without acknowledging the, tragedy that's happening in my city when so many people are impacted, and we have a platform here. I couldn't hate you if I tried. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you all so much for making this platform and community what it is. I seriously missed you guys so much over the holiday. I hope you all had a great holiday, whatever you celebrated. And in spite of, the catastrophe that has been kicking off the new year here, at least in Southern California and the United States, I hope you all had a wonderful new year and has been off to a good start in spite of. And I'll see you guys again very, very soon with less emo content, for lack of a better word. But until then, thank you so much, so much for being here and contributing just with even your presence. That means the world to me. I hope you guys are doing so well as always. Hope you have a great rest of your day, night, morning, evening, 3 a.m., wherever you may be. And I will see you guys again very, very soon. Don't hate me, because I'm going to have to look over here and break eye contact in order to switch to my end screen, but I'll see you guys again soon. Take care, everybody.